And we're back. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from Blue Jeans Pizza here in Blue Ridge, Georgia. Make sure my lapel is on. And we are now joined by Appalachian Judicial Circuit Superior Court Judge John Worcester. Did I get all that correct, Judge?
You did, absolutely.
I never want to get it wrong, Your Honor. Before the bench or sitting next to you, I want to make sure I get it correct. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great, thanks.
You know, I've followed your career here in North Georgia. Chief Juvenile Judge for a period of time. I'll give you an opportunity to talk about that. And then you've been on the Superior Court bench in this circuit, Appalachian Judicial Circuit, for approximately a year. You were appointed to that. And you are in the Fannin Courthouse. Although the circuit is Fannin, Gilmer, and Pickens, there's 3 judges and every judge is assigned basically to a courthouse. Is that correct?
That's absolutely right. I'm in Fannin County.
Are you enjoying it?
I am. Time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, I think it's been a very meaningful experience. I am enjoying it.
Now, do you still live in Pickens County and having to commute?
I do.
Is that something on the table as far as maybe moving to Fannin County, or?
I'm looking into that at this particular point in time. You know, when I became juvenile court judge back in 2004, I felt that it was important to make sure we had representation in each county. So I elected to keep my office in Blue Ridge. So I've commuted up here for the last 14 years. As a matter of fact, when I was appointed to the Superior Court bench, basically all I did was pick up my stuff in one office and walk down the hall and put it in another office.
Tell me a little bit about juvenile court, how you got into juvenile court, juvenile law there, and what's your passion on that? Because I want you to take that into, if I look at the camera and I ask you if people know what CASA is, okay, a lot of people don't know what that is, and actually that parallels juvenile court.
Correct.
So talk a little bit about that.
Well, I finished law school in 1992 and was offered the opportunity to go to work for a fairly new statewide organization. That organization was Georgia Court Appointed Special Advocates, Georgia CASA. And my job was to serve as basically the state program manager and work with, at that time, our 6 active CASA programs and work to try to develop some new programs across the state. Essentially, CASA's goal is to provide our abused and neglected children a voice in court. I think the organization was founded in state of Washington back in 1978, has grown exponentially since that time. I was on the job for a fairly short period of time, and I got a phone call from now Chief Superior Court Judge Brenda Weaver. And she said, you know, I've heard about this CASA program. This might be something we'd like to do up in the Appalachian Judicial Circuit. Would you be willing to come on up and talk to us? I said, sure I would, because again, part of my job was to grow and develop programs. So I came up, met with her, former Superior Court Judge Beth Glazebrook, and a group of lawyers talked about the program, and through Judge Weaver's leadership and guidance, CASA, the Appalachian Judicial Circuit, was born back in 1992, one of the early programs. And you know, I came to like the area so much that one day I got a phone call from Judge Weaver, and she said, you know, you seem to like this area. There's a lawyer up here who's looking for someone to associate. Would you be interested? I said, well, sure, I'll talk to anybody. And so I came up, met with a guy named Ed Marger. And,
yeah, nobody knows Ed. Yeah, exactly. Yes, I know.
And a 7-hour interview turned into about 11 years. And during that time, Judge Weaver said, you know, since you've been involved with CASA, you're the one who knows all about juvenile court, so why don't you help out and handle a lot of these juvenile court cases? And so I said, well, sure, I'll do it. You know, I like it. It's something important to me. And so it kind of grew into a point where we had an opening for a chief juvenile court judge, and I was tapped back in 2004.
Now, CASA is the court-appointed special advocate. Explain why the court needs a special advocate for these children and how that plays a part how that plays a part in the juvenile. Now, this is not their attorney,
No, correct.
all right, because you have indigent defense that's Supreme Court said everybody has the right to defense. So indigent defense representation, but this is an advocate for the child.
Right. All of our children are appointed counsel, but this is a layperson whose job is solely to serve in their best interest. Not necessarily what they want, but in the children's best interest. And as a volunteer, they really have no axe to grind, so they're coming in as a neutral, which is what you want. But somebody who can sit there and say, listen, this kid needs this, or this kid needs that, or what are we doing here? I found it to be a very effective program. In the CASA of the Appalachian Judicial Circuit, we've got, I believe it's 77 volunteers serving 225 kids. So it's been a very effective program. Quite frankly, when a CASA volunteer makes a recommendation, I listen very closely to what they have to say. I may not agree 100% of the time, but I listen very closely to what they have to say. And bring a wealth of knowledge to the table.
Let me go a little further here with this, because this is very interesting to me, because when I ask why do they need an advocate, are we looking at kids that experience abuse and neglect, that do not have an adult, do not have a family member, do not have someone, because they're scared. They meet with their attorney, and nothing against their attorney, but they meet with their attorney, they have heavy caseload. They go to a judge, and a lot of them come out and don't understand what they're up against, don't understand really what's going on. Am I going down the right road?
You are going down the right road, absolutely. Kids do have families, but kids need somebody who can represent their best interest. A family member is not necessarily representing their best interest. It may be what the family member wants, or what the kid wants. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, because I mean, when you first started this, were you maybe amazed? Because I'm amazed at the thought that 700,000 children nationwide experience abuse and neglect every year that need this form of advocate. Is there things like that that just shocked you or amazed you when you first started getting involved with this and seeing some of the situations these kids are in?
Let me tell you what shocked me, and I probably never told this story before, but back when I worked for CASA down in Atlanta, I had the opportunity to get trained and take on a case. It was my first case. And I had a young man who was in a psychiatric facility. I went to visit him, talked with him, seemed like a pretty nice guy, and then I found out that this child, and I don't know how this happened to this day, but this child was from Indiana and had somehow or another been placed in the state of Georgia. I through the hospital system, don't know how that happened, but he was in this hospital. He came from a horribly dysfunctional family, horribly dysfunctional. He had a sister. His sister was still in Indiana, and this kid, they were going to send him to summer camp. And all I could picture was this young man going to some camp somewhere, and he has a roommate or a bunkmate. He says, "Where are you from?" He said, "Well, I'm from here." "Now, where are you really from?" He said, "I'm from here." "What do you mean?" He said, "All my stuff is here. This is where I live now, at the summer camp." And I thought about that. The more I thought about that, the more bothered I was by that situation. Kids deserve better than that. You know, our kids are our future. And I think by investing in them now, we're paying dividends for the future.
Well, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you and what you do and this program and the development of this program since the 90s of what it is today. How do people volunteer? How do they get involved? What are the needs? What does CASA need in this area where we're at today?
We need volunteers. They can call Diane Scoggins at the CASA office down in LJ. Let's see, the number 706-276-2272.
You didn't know there'd be a test today.
I did
But
not.
we need volunteers.
We do.
We need volunteers. All right, let's, before we leave today, you have been recognized as the CASA Judge, National CASA Judge of the Year.
Correct.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And how did you get this honor bestowed on you? By doing a good job. But I mean, do they go into every circuit and have people that are named in each circuit to?
I think so. This would basically, they would have, the state would have presented my name to the national organization. This state, and of course, the other.
That's what I'm getting at. This is a national program. This is a national program. So there is, I'll call it a chapter. There's your local chapter, then there's the state, and then there's the national program. So you've been recognized, and we want to say congratulations for being recognized as the CASA Judge of the Year.
I was very humbled by that. I just thought I was doing what you ought to be doing.
Well, somebody recognized that, and we appreciate that, and we recognize that too. Not venturing out, but I'm not getting into anything. But I've been watching Supreme Court confirmations hearings, and aren't you? You're satisfied with Superior Court Judge when you hear those hearings, huh? I mean, Neil Gorsuch has really taken the hot seat for 3 days. I just don't know how those guys do it.
It'd be beyond what I'd want to do.
Huh?
I'll tell you that. It'd be beyond what I'd want to do.
Are you enjoying the bench in this circuit on Superior Court? Because I
do. I like dealing with people. I like working with people. I like trying to help solve problems. Yeah, I do.
Well, I want to tell you, I think I would like to do some things where we hear more from the courts, and we thoroughly understand you can't talk cases and stuff like. We thoroughly understand that, but as far as the courts like CASA and the accountability courts, and connecting the courts with the people, because sometimes I think it's not the intent, but there's a disconnect of the court to the people. Would you agree with that?
I would agree, and I think there's a great story to tell. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is we have programs in this judicial circuit that you don't find in the biggest communities.
Yes.
I mean, without a doubt, yeah, there's a heck of a story.
So I'd like to do that, get more connected. Judge Worcester, I want to thank you so much for coming today. CASA, folks, 700,000 children experience abuse or neglect each year. They need volunteers. We again want to congratulate Superior Court Judge of the Appalachian Circuit, John Worcester, as being named and honored the nationally CASA Judge of the Year. And they need volunteers, and we can also get you that number because you heard that story, and there's too many more out there like that, and they need your help, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Your Honor. We know you got to get on the bench. It's only a few times I get to tell the judge to go to work. Okay, I don't get to say that. But Your Honor, you have a nice day. Let's just go to commercial. Let's go to commercial, and Dr. Whaley will be here as soon as we return. You good with that?
I am.
Huh?
Thanks, man.
I told you.